Do you have yearbooks in your home taking up space and collecting dust? What if I told you that you could turn these paperweights into powerful storytelling tools and then feel good about getting rid of them out of your house? Stick with me because you might never look at your old yearbooks in the same way again. One of the biggest challenges in preserving memories is connecting names with faces. Yearbooks are amazing for overcoming this challenge, especially when you're documenting class rosters or people who may have lost touch with you over the years. Now, my preferred format for creating family history and personal history is scrapbooking, specifically decorative digital scrapbooks. But if you're using any visual format like home videos, family slideshows, or even text-heavy life stories, what I share today will still help. Here are 6 ways you can use them to bring your life story to life. Your yearbook might list everyone alphabetically, but it doesn't show who mattered most to you. Now, you may have marked it up a little, but still, why not make your own familiar faces roster? Scan the headshots of friends, classmates, and teachers who made an impact and use those tiny photos to rebuild your world. Let me show you a few examples to get you inspired. I started by scanning the class photo pages and cropping just to the folks I remember. I had included my classmates, friends, and crushes, even the ones I barely spoke to but still remember. It's a great way to preserve your social world, not just the official record. On this page, I highlighted my favorite people and added a few notes about how I knew them, like their grade, that we met through Color Guard, FCA, or because they were friends with my brother. The extra context brings back so many memories. Did your school have a name card trading tradition at graduation? Ours did, and I kept a bunch of these cards. Using my yearbook, I matched those names to faces and created a fun spread showing who I traded with and how I knew them. Bringing together these familiar faces helped me tell a fuller, more personal story of high school, not just who I was, but who I was with. Class favorites were a big deal at my school, and my yearbook dedicated multiple pages to them. But instead of keeping all those layouts, I created a single page in my scrapbook that highlighted the students who were voted most likely to succeed, Mr. KHS, or Best Dancer. Then, just for fun, I added my picks for each category using roster photos. Now, how did I remember this 25 years later? Well, I had a separate memory book that asked the questions. So now I just could take my pics, pair it with the photos, and voila, I had a fun page. Now, not all of my choices were close friends, but many just stood out to me in memorable ways. This is such a fun way to document your perspectives, and it makes your scrapbook or personal history project more personal. Plus, it's way easier to flip through a compact book than dig through the entire yearbook every time someone asks who was voted most athletic. If you ever stared at a blank scrapbook page or a writing page or a slideshow, wondering what to say or what to put on it, if your photos just don't tell the full story, lean on the yearbook. Sometimes it already has the journaling or images you need, so why reinvent the wheel when the story's already been told? For this page, I lifted everything from the yearbook, the photos, and even the journaling. But I rearranged the pieces to fit my scrapbook layout and added a few embellishments to make it more personal. Done and done. Now, graduation day is a blur in my memory, and the photos I had were scanned at 72 DPI back in the early 2000s. I was trying to preserve them, but I didn't know what I didn't know, and basically the photos are unusable now. So I turned to the yearbook. I borrowed a photo of the ceremony, even though I'm not in it, and used the summary of the event as the journaling. I still captured the feeling of the day, and that was enough to tell my story. On this page, let's talk about prom. Mine wasn't exactly great, and that's putting it nicely. Rather than dwell on my awful date, I lifted the text from the yearbook that described the venue and pulled in a photo of the jazz band that played. I knew most of the musicians were marching band. It helped me paint the atmosphere without reliving the awkward parts. Eventually, I told the fuller story in another section, but this layout keeps things light and still honest. Our school did a fantastic job of capturing the broader culture we were living in. Music trends, sports highlights, even major world events. I didn't connect with everything that the yearbook article writer wrote about, but I still used the year in review pages to add context to my scrapbook and quickly add a page. It gave my story a wider lens and helped anchor my personal memories in the world around me. Here's a quick bonus tip. If you need to round out your album or want an easy win, scan the yearbook cover and add it to your scrapbook. Instant nostalgia, no extra work. The best part of yearbooks for your personal history projects is that they can fill in the missing pieces of your story. You can use photos and text to supplement the memories you have, the photos you kept, and the memorabilia you saved. On this page, I show how you can utilize group photos from activities you participated in or supported to enrich your stories about extracurricular or curricular involvement. In this layout, I combined 2 yearbook photos and the text about the color guard. The additional visuals and narratives helped create a more comprehensive story of my time twirling flags. Often we experience events without photographing them. For band camp, I used yearbook photos to narrate the summer training for marching band, highlighting individuals such as the drumline captain and the drum major who were significant during that time. But I was too busy marching to take photos. So, win-win, thanks to the yearbooks. Yearbooks offer more than just photos. They provide context that can enrich the stories you're telling. Perhaps you attended a football game or a pep rally but didn't take any photos, like I just mentioned. With the yearbook's collection of event photos, you can still illustrate those memories. During the fall, I attended home and away football games with the band and participated in pep rallies with band and color guard friends. Sometimes the band, drill team, or color guard performed. However, I rarely took photos. Let's be honest, film was expensive, and I wasn't a good photographer. Thankfully, the yearbook staff captured these moments, allowing me to include photos of the football team, cheerleaders, drill team, and my friend Marty in my scrapbook. Scanning and inserting these images helped me vividly recall those experiences. It's uncommon to have personal photographs of the teachers we saw every day for approximately 180 days a year. Some teachers we interacted with even more frequently. I utilized a yearbook to include my teachers' photos and discuss my class schedule. By integrating yearbook content, you can fill in the gaps of your personal photo collection, providing a more comprehensive and contextual narrative of your high school experiences. Some moments or people stand out in your memories, even if you don't have a photo to capture them. That's where yearbooks come in handy for honoring these special folks. Did you all have high school celebrity crushes? Was your drumline full of the hottest guys around? Mine sure was. I made a page dedicated to my drumline crushes using the yearbook roster image. It's funny to look back on, especially since this was so long ago. And I don't know if they all knew how big my crushes were. I'm married now, so it's not a big deal. There were a few boys who were very important to me in my junior year. Joseph was my best friend. Billy and I went out on one date, and I went to homecoming with Brandon in my senior year. Even though I didn't have many photos of them, I featured them on this page because they were a big part of my daily life. Special events fall into this category for me. For me, homecoming was always a big deal. And on this page, I included a photo trading card Brandon gave me. He was my date to homecoming, though we went as friends. He was a year younger and on the JV football team, so I didn't attend his games due to scheduling conflicts. However, the yearbook helped me include a team photo and some highlights about his team's success, allowing me to honor him in a meaningful way. Honoring those who passed on. My friend John passed away this year, and when I went through my photos, I realized I had 0 pictures of him, even though he was a regular part of my life. I wanted to honor him, so I scanned his yearbook photo and wrote about our friendship and how much I miss him. And I still tear up thinking about John. When you don't have a photo of someone or something important, the yearbook can be a great resource to help tell those stories and honor those special people and the special memories. Here are 2 essential tips that will help you make the most of your yearbook incorporation into personal history projects. First, I'm going to tell you to scan at 600 dpi. I know the typical recommendation is 300 dpi, but when scanning yearbook photos, if you scan at 600 dpi, this ensures the photos are high enough quality for your projects, which might need the images to be larger than what they were in your yearbook. And it allows you more pixels to work with if you need to do any touch-up work. Which leads me to the next tip, is to touch up your photos. Now, yearbook scans can sometimes show dust or scratches. If you notice imperfection, don't hesitate to use a gentle blur to smooth out the image. This particularly helps with when you have the little dots that come up in these type of printed images. You can just blur it just slightly and the picture looks better. Lay off the colorization of the photos. Sorry, I'm gonna say it. Just don't. But it's your project, so if you want to ignore me, I'm never going to know. My other tip is to, after digitizing yearbooks, consider making a donation of the yearbook to a more permanent storage location. This frees up physical space in your home while preserving the emotional value in the stories that you want to share. So after you've extracted your memories, then consider classmates.com, Ancestry, MyHeritage, and perhaps a few others. For more tips on what to scan and extract from your yearbook, you'll want to read the blog post. I'll also go into the topic of whether you can use photos in your project and avoid copyright problems, and whether you should share your projects publicly. Check out the link in the description box. Now, here's something I'd love to hear your thoughts on. A friend of mine is considering donating his yearbook to classmates.com, but I'm torn about what to do with mine. Which platform would best serve my classmates? Classmates.com, Ancestry, or MyHeritage? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and maybe you guys can help me decide who gets the books. But I also have to mention another significant concern, is that my yearbooks are not pristine copies. I mean, it was my memory book, and I didn't consider the long-term genealogical ramifications of what I did to my book. So I'm hoping that if I donate it, that people won't know it was mine. Will they scan the notes people left in the front cover in the back? I mean, I know I've seen a number of books that scan signatures, but some of the notes people left were cheesy, other were raunchy, and some had phone numbers. So I'm not sure how the companies would handle that. Okay, what happens if you hearted someone or scribbled all over their face because they made you so mad? What happens then? I mean, my school was 4,000 people, and I would hate for somebody to be looking for their ancestor and find out they were the scribbled one. But there's still 4,000 people in the book, plus staff and teachers. Maybe the book is still worth preserving. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts. So contribute to that discussion in the comment section below. How have you used yearbooks in your storytelling projects? Have you come up with something I missed? I'd love to hear it. I want to know if you're inspired to start scanning your yearbooks and turning them into meaningful projects. And if you need a little extra help getting started, be sure to grab my free handout that is also linked in the description box. It will guide you through how to make your yearbooks a key part of your family history project. Thanks for watching, and remember, if family history isn't fun, you're doing it wrong. Now go watch this video.